Welcome to the Plant Spirit Podcast on connecting with plant consciousness and the healing wisdom of nature. If you'd like to learn more on how to communicate directly with plants, visit www.learnplantlanguage.com to register for the free workshop. That's www.learnplantlanguage.com. I'm your host, Sarah Artemisia, and I am deeply honored to introduce our next guest to the show today. Joanne Hakaraya is a Rongoa Maori healer and a Maori wahine born and raised in Otaki, Aotearoa. She is a tangata whenua, a person belonging to this land of Aotearoa. The Tararua Ranges and the Otaki and Waitohu rivers raised her. She walks with her ancestors, exploring the land and working with the modi of plants, the life force. She created a waka, an esoteric vessel, to navigate her way through the Nahere forest, one tree at a time. She gathered a Ropu group and studied the trees that protect the Nahere. Then she went further into the Nahere and studied the Rako Rangatira, the older trees. Connecting to the Mori, the life force of plants, and sharing that knowledge for healing is Joanne's life purpose. And she has dedicated her life to working with and studying plants. So Joanne, thank you so much for being here. Such a joy, honor, and delight to have you here. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. I'm very humbled to be here on your podcast. It's the work that you do is amazing, and the connections that you have for people and to talk about the plants is just beautiful. It's wonderful, and I love the work that you do. Thank you, Sarah.
Oh, thank you so much. It means a lot. I so appreciate that. And I have just loved learning a bit about your whole approach with plants and healing, and would love to just start with hearing a bit about your experience and really sharing a bit about what is Rongoa Maori.
So Rongoa Māori, there's so much that encompasses Rongoa Māori. It's a huge healing kaupapa, but what I work with is the rongoa of the plants of Aotearoa, so traditional plant medicine. And I also work with the body. I do miri or massage or healing work with the body, and I use rongoa, the plant medicine, to support the work that I do with the body. So that's on a physical perspective of Rongoa Māori, but in the wairua or the spiritual realm, I work with the modi of plants, which is the life force or the life essence of the plants, and really help people to connect with that modi to help them to go deeper into their own healing. And that's without using it for any medicine. So that's what I do with Rongoa Māori. I work with the modi of plants or the life force of plants. That is my passion. That's my life purpose. And just studying about the modi, there is so much with every plant that I learn and study. It takes me deeper and deeper. And I always like to say, if you're going to learn about Rongoa Māori, especially with the rako of Aotearoa, you want to be able to walk deeper into the ngahere, deeper into the forest, because staying on the surface, just as beautiful as it is to learn about the medicine of plants, there is so much depth and deeper healing when you go deeper into the plants and learn about the spirit and the modi. So that's what I do with Rongoa Māori, and I try and bring it all together for the healing.
Amazing. Incredible to hear about that. And could you tell us a bit more about the Mori? I just love this. The life force of plants really, really resonates. And could you tell us a bit more about how you work with it?
Yes,
Maybe with people
yes,
and
yes, of course. So Mauri, Mauri, Mauri means life force or life essence. How I like to see the Mauri. So everything has Mauri, a rock, a book, a house, plants have Mauri. Everything has a life force. And you can actually see the Mauri, you can sense the Mauri, and you can perceive the Mauri. And when you can connect to Mauri as a being or as an entity, you can tune into any messages or anything that you are invited to know. And the more that you sit with the Mauri of a particular object, in this case, plants or the rako, the more that you sit with the Mauri, the deeper you go. And I like to call it you're building a relationship with plants. And building a relationship is like making friends for the first time with a person. You sort of get to know each other and become friends, and trust has to happen. And what needs to happen between each other to gain that trust? When do you feel ready enough to be able to share deeper secrets about yourself to another person? You know, when does that happen in that relationship? And so it can take time, or the other person may have to do something for you to be able to have the trust to be able to share. And that's how I like to see it with plants, is that the more that you sit with it and the more that you learn about it and the more that you give to them, the more that they will start to trust you to be able to open that realm to invite you in to learn more about them. And that sometimes can take weeks, months, or even years. And sometimes sitting with the Mauri of a plant, you might sit with it for a few weeks and then come away and do something else and learn about something else. And a year later, you can go back to it. And that seems to be how it has been working for me, is that I have to just gather the information that comes through the Mauri of sitting with the plant. And then you feel like when you're gathering that information, it feels like a vessel. It feels like a kete, which is a kit or a holding vessel of knowledge. And you sit with that and you feel like that's full and it's enough for you to take on, to digest and process. And so you go away and you sit with that and you just reflect on it to really understand what that knowledge is trying to share with you, what the message is. And that can take a few years, if not longer, or a lifetime to unpack that kete of knowledge. And then once that's done, once that's been processed and you're able to, it's got to go through the body. Like I see it like holding the esoteric vessel, the kete, it goes through the body. So it's going through the head, going through the mind, going through your throat, going through the heart, and it's processing and digesting until it gets to the puku, to your stomach. That information is digesting, and where your stomach processes it, this is information. In Māori, in Te Ao Māori and Māoridom, kai means food, but kai is also knowledge. And kai, when the food goes in, it sits with the stomach and gets processed. And it's the same with information. It's the same with knowledge. It has to be processed. If it's not processed, it does the same as what kai does or what food does. It doesn't get processed, or it sits there, so it needs to be processed and sit with, and to be able to be birthed, to be able to come out into this world. Because as that light language or that vibratory language of Mauri is going through your body, it's changing, it's transitioning into something that's physical. And then when it gives birth, you have to be able to express it. So then you have to spend whatever time it takes for you to be able to express it. So that could be through art, it could be through writing, but you do need to voice it to land it in this world. And then when you are able to voice it, it becomes a physical reality, it becomes real. it becomes an entity, it becomes something that you can share, because that kai, that knowledge that I digested and processed, is not for me. I'm just the vessel, and very humbled that that came through me to be able to share with others. And so that's my responsibility. So learning about the Mauri of plants is a huge responsibility. There's a weight there, and you have to be able to hold that light, be able to process that light, and also to share that light in the right way, And so to share that light, you're constantly having to make sure that your body is clear and not filtering the messages that you're sharing, that you're expressing, because that is not, you're not being tika, you're not being correct, you're not being pono, truthful to the plants or to the knowledge that has come through. So that's the responsibility of that, huge responsibility. But because we love what we do, Sarah, because we love the connection with the plants, we do anything. We do anything within reason. But yeah, it's looking after the body, first and foremost, our vessel, to be able to share that Mauri. And it's not a short journey, it's a huge journey. And before you embark on learning about the Mauri and taking all of that on, we have to make sure that our own vessel and our surroundings, our home and everything is in some form of order, that we can do this. So that's how I work with the Mauri of plants. I receive it, and then I share it in a way that a person is able to receive it. And I have to know that they're ready to receive it. Yeah, so that's a big one too. I can't just share all the time, and because sometimes it's too much for someone to hold or to receive. So just deciphering the people that can hold that light as well, which is why I created that esoteric vehicle, the waka, to be able to protect us, hold us as a rōpū, the people that wanted to learn about the plants with me. I could take them along with me, and then I could navigate that waka and ensure that the people that came with me were safe. So holding space for them and making sure that they were safe, and to be able to go deeper into the ngahere, to keep learning about the Mauri of plants. And that's how I work with the Mauri, Sarah.
Amazing. Wow, there's so much in what you just shared there. The waka in particular really coming forward. I would love to hear more about that. Even as you're describing it, I'm picturing this energetic vessel. Certainly you're creating a very solid container to help guide people into a deeper way of connecting and knowing and meeting and working with the plants. And obviously only what you feel comfortable to share with this, because it is clearly incredibly sacred. Is there anything else you feel called to share about really what a waka is, what an esoteric vessel is, and how this is supportive in the work with plants?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think about 5 years ago, or maybe longer, I could see a waka, and it was a waka of light. And this word came to me, te waka rākau, and it means a waka of plants and trees, but it means so much more, because rākau, the meaning of Ra, of course, is light. It's the sun. It's the spiritual light. So it's the light that we see with the plants, the Mauri. And ko means the flow of light. Ka means the flow, and u is sustenance and nutrients. The esoteric sustenance. So rākau is so much more. It's the flow of sacred light, the flow of divine light. So in that te waka rākau, I saw this, all of the the trees in that waka. But the trees were people. They were people. And I thought, okay, I'm seeing this vision. And I just went with it. I just created what I was being called to do, to wakarako. And then I created like a course to learn about the plants and just learning about the Māori. And the people came, certain people came. It started off very small, and that's how the waka grew. It just, people came on board with me, and we went into the ngahere. But the waka, the esoteric vehicle, is me. Like, it's me, I'm the waka. And so I'm holding the space, and I'm navigating the waters, and I'm navigating where to go. But I'm navigating, the plants were calling, and they would show me, they would call out, say, you're to learn about me. And so we would sit with that plant for 2 weeks. And I just had to trust in each journey. Every 2 weeks, a plant would come out and say, now it's my turn. And we did that for a whole year. I think we studied over 20 plants, but it was quite full on, because every 2 weeks, what was happening is that our bodies would go into healing mode, because each plant that came through, we're in a particular order to do something with the body. And it was so beautiful and incredible to experience, not only for myself, but for others as well. And just to watch them, what they were shedding. But we were learning so much more. But I was just amazed and in awe at the order of the plants that came through. And I've kept that order. It changes every year, the plants change, but there is a particular order that comes through that we have to clear first and open up particular portals in the body and connect. Some people need longer than 2 weeks, so we just let them be in that space, because deep healing's going on, Sarah. It's I was in awe. And the first plant that we worked with is a plant called kawakawa, Kawa. And if you spell it back to front, it's waka. There's waka. The word waka is in there. But kawa, and it's a very popular native plant over here. It's related to the kava plant, but it doesn't have that much the same intensity. It has numbing properties. But the beauty about this plant is that it's heart-shaped. And the story that goes with kawakawa is in the separation of Ranginui, the Sky Father, and Papatuanuku, Earth Mother. When they separated, Papatuanuku was in pain. She was in grief, and she was longing for her loved one, Ranginui. The plant that was given to Papatuanuku to adorn her body is kawakawa, and that was given to her by a higher source. So kawakawa was to adorn her body and to help her with her grieving and with her pain. So it was to help her to clear her rivers, clean her rivers, and just to be able to basically heal her heart, heal that, I want to say mamai, because it's a deeper word, to heal her pain. So kawakawa was that rongoa that was given to her. And because that's the first plant that we work with, because it works with the heart and humanity, we need to sort of be able to come out of our head and into the heart. And what I saw with the course, or what I saw with learning about the Māori, is that people were finding it hard to come out of their head and to connect from their heart. And kawakawa is one of those plants that helps you to do that. And it opens that kuaha, that portal of the heart, so that they can feel. And then when that opens and people can feel, then they feel all their mamai, their pain. So they have to heal through that way. So that's the first plant that we always start with. And the journey begins.
I can imagine. I can only imagine that journey. Absolutely incredible. Absolutely incredible. So interesting too that that's such a huge part of that experience is really journeying into the Nahere, into the forest. What is it about the forest that you feel is so important for this work and really on the planet at large for really working with at this time?
Well, the ngahere or the forest, it holds a particular light, doesn't it? It holds you've got all of the trees that are providing so much oxygen. So when you're going into the ngahere, your whole body can breathe because you're immersed in this light. But the importance of being able to go into the ngahere is to be able to connect with those plants and also to remember the primordial wisdom and energy that comes from being in a ngahere, because that light is so ancient and primordial that you can't find that anywhere. You can't find that in a room, or it's a different light to the beach. It's totally unique. You have to enter the forest to be able to feel that sensation, to be able to allow that energy to envelop you, to move through you so that you can feel it, because it's energizing and activating. It activates your cells to remember. It activates your cells to help you to want to go deeper within yourself. And it can help you to remember who you are, who you are at the core. And because the sounds are all different, you can hear so much more and feel so much more in the ngahere, in the forest. So I encourage people to go into the ngahere. It's part of the work. You need to go into the ngahere to be able to wake yourself up, to remember, Sarah.
Yeah, I really feel that with the plants that they support us so much in remembering who we are and what we're really doing here. So grateful to them for that, along with so many other things. And you were sharing about the kawa kawa earlier, and I was curious to hear a bit more about, are there any other plants in Aotearoa that you're really noticing are coming forward to assist with humanity and what's going on right now with the planet?
Yeah, one of the rongoa that's coming through really, really strongly, and it sits with me all the time, is a mushroom called Pākai Ahi. And it's a Ganoderma, but the Pākai Ahi grows naturally in Aotearoa. And of course, we know that the mushrooms, they provide so much energy for us, and they're really good for our immune system. But when you tune into the mauri of the mushrooms, and my experiences with this Pākai Ahi is that it can take you into other realms. And it's these other realms that are quite exciting. So when I was tuning into the mauri of Pākai Ahi, it's almost taking you down. You're going into the underground of this little world, which is a really beautiful, magical world. But there's so much information that comes through, like you were talking about before, Sarah, with the mycelium connection, with all that interaction. What I see with Pākai Ahi is what it does with the body is it's like it connects all of our neurons, all of our electricity, all of our messages, our connectors. It just reconnects them back up and connects them out into the wider web of the world. In fact, it goes further out into the universe, and we're able to connect with higher sources from other realms. It's really incredible. But what I noticed with Pākai Ahi when I started to work with its medicine is that it would start to strengthen my puku, or strengthen the solar plexus. It would start to really strengthen and make that I could feel it quite pulsating. So I kind of sat with that for a while. And then after a while, the puku was connecting with, I call the hinengaro, which is the higher mind or consciousness. It was connecting to the hinengaro and connecting out into the higher universe. And what I found is that information was able to come through just like the snap of a finger. It wasn't getting processed through the mind. It wasn't coming through other realms. It was just coming in as a knowing. And that's what Pākai Ahi is able to do, is that it provides information just as a knowing, like you've already known it before. And if you had any questions, if you were wanting to find something out, it would actually give you the messages or the answers to what you need to know through that electricity or through those light beams. That's the beauty. And how I feel that Pākai Ahi is going to be a good medicine for. It just gives you you just have the answers straight away about everything that you need to know, not about what you want to know. It helps you to take action, and it gives you the thought to take action of what to do to take action. That's what it does. It gives you signals and messages in a way that I've never experienced before with other plants. How is this beneficial for humanity? Is able to provide you with answers and to help you to take action with what you need to do with your life purpose. Really, it's about the life purpose. It's nothing to do with, well, you need to go to the shop and do this. No, it's not about that. It's about knowing your life purpose and helping you to take action with that, signaling you to take action. And it's very, very strong in its message. It's profound. I've never experienced that before, but I feel like that is Pākai Ahi, or the mushroom. Any mushroom, I feel, is able to do that for you.
It's so fascinating to me how the mycelial realm, how the mushrooms are really the neural network of Gaia, and how there's such a mirroring happening in our own bodies as a microcosm of Gaia. And then when we ingest mushrooms, when we work with them consciously, just the magic that can unfold out of that. And I'm talking just the medicinal mushrooms like the Ganodermas and this sort of thing that we, while staying very grounded in the body. And what you were just sharing about how this mushroom, this Ganoderma in particular, the Pākai Ahi that you're so connected with, that it will just give the thought as a direct knowing, and that allows you to then take action. It reminds me of this aspect of visioning that I was tuning into earlier, how visioning is really about deep listening. And what do we actually see and experience when we deeply listen to something with the core of our being? And it sounds to me from what you're saying that the Pākai Ahi really helps with this aspect of deep listening, so that we can listen clearly, so that we can then take clear action.
Absolutely. Absolutely. As you were speaking, Sarah, I was seeing that how the mycelium network connects with other trees, and it helps everything to connect and to communicate with each other about what's going on in the environment. That's exactly what it's doing for us as well. It helps us, or encourages us, to talk with specific people, to connect with people, with our community, but also to connect with people that will help, to take action with what we need to do for humanity. Just like how you and I met, Sarah. Like I needed to meet you.
Clearly the plants set that one up for sure.
Yeah.
So any other plants, nature beings that you're really feeling coming forward right now?
I think at the moment it's just those two. However, this other one's coming through that I didn't think I was going to talk about. It's called Houhere, Houhere. And I actually went out to make an essence with it, Sarah, this morning. but I noticed it a few days ago. And when I have been tuning into the Māori of this particular Rākau rangatira, it is a flowering native. It has a beautiful white flower, and the bees love it. And of course, the bees love every flower, most flowering plants. But this one in particular got my attention because I remember a few years ago going to harvest some of the flowers, and I could really, and I was climbing up. You get into awkward situations when you try to harvest, as I'm sure you're aware, Sarah. But I was climbing up, trying to harvest some of the flowers, and I could hear the bees and I could sense them around me. And I thought, well, if I don't move so much, if I just try not to interrupt or disrupt what they're doing, I'll be fine. I was fine, but their humming was becoming louder. It wasn't becoming louder, it was becoming stronger. And when I came away from it, I thought, I think I have to leave. I felt that I didn't have the permission to harvest, not from the plant, but from the bees. It was like, it was their dimension. It was a particular time of the year, and they had put up a force field. It was a force field around this tree. And that's what I was feeling. And I could feel that. And that was when I knew I had to step back. And it's something that I have sat with. That's that kete of knowledge, once again, that I'm holding. And this particular rākau, the bark has lace bark. It's called lace bark, and it's got this beautiful pattern. And the bark was used as rongoa in old times. And what I received today is that force field is an imprint on that bark, on that tree trunk. And I thought that the rongoa, and just knowing that Māori, and I was really appreciative of the bees, because that's a whole another realm to go into. Yet it's all connected. It's all connected. And I have to, it's getting their permission. So we have to be very mindful of all the other beings that are working with the trees, not just us. There's so many other beings that we have to get permission from. And that was a huge awareness today, that time. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for bringing that up, that aspect of in the interconnectivity, the interconnected web of life. It's like we're not just working with one isolated being in a vacuum. They're connected with the entirety of creation. And so what unfolds when we really acknowledge that or recognize that? And it's really fascinating to me at the beginning of this conversation today, you and I, when we were talking, I was feeling the presence of whales coming up so strongly. So interesting. It's the Plant Spirit podcast. Fascinating. The whales are turning up here. But because of that, because the presence was so strong, I wanted to ask you about that, a little bit more about that. You live right next to the ocean. And yeah, is there anything that you feel called to share about the whales? Certainly they are very connected with the entirety of creation, the interconnected web of life, and particularly their communication, the sonic communication of the whales as sea beings. If there's anything you're feeling called to share about that.
Yeah, no, thank you, Sarah. It does bring up a memory that I had about 10 years ago. I'd have this energy running through my body, and it was like a hum, and it went, The sound would wake me up because it would only happen when I'm sleeping. I felt like it was a healing. I felt like it was a type of healing because I would feel it in my body in particular areas. And it would wake me up. And when I woke up, the vibration would go. I went to a Māori healer just to ask them what they thought it was. And she mentioned sonic communication, or that old vibratory language, and it was connected to the whales and the dolphins. I was born and raised in Otaki on the beach, but I moved to Auckland for 20 years. And so I was kind of away from living at the beach, even though the the beaches that are there, they're a long way away from where I was living. But I was feeling that sonic vibration through my body. And I started to connect to the whales because of that, because I needed to understand what was happening in my body, and started to connect in with the whale songs, the patterns. It took me to dolphins, to sharks, to stingrays, and all that sonic vibratory language that they have. And it's not just them that have that sonic communication, it's otherworldly beings that have that sonic communication as well. So it was all part of this domain, and I felt like it was just running through my body for no reason, or just to connect with the sonic. But what I learned is that the whales are connected in Te Ao Māori, and in Māori culture. The Kauri tree, which is a really large conifer in New Zealand, is connected to the whale. So they were known as brothers. They were connected. They were brothers together, and they both lived in the ocean. And after the separation, or the Kauri tree became terrestrial, of course the whales stayed in the sea, but the sorrow between the two of being separated can be really felt. The Kauri tree in Aotearoa has a disease called a dieback disease, and it's quite threatening in the fact that we might lose these Kauri trees, and they are a magnificent part of our country, and they hold so much mauri. They were like pillars of light, huge, because their trunks were so straight and tall, solid, that they are pillars of light, and that our people used to work with them, with the wairua of these trees, to hold things because of the strength that they had. Because of the Kauri dieback, there's a connection between the whales and the Kauri of our disconnection from nature, from the whales and from nature. Our disconnection to nature is being shown and mirrored in what's happening in the Kauri. And we're just too blind to see that. We're just trying to fix it with medicine or other things, but we're blind to and we're too egotistical to think that it could be about us, about our disconnection and how we treat the planet.
Thank you for sharing that. And those trees sound absolutely incredible. Love to visit with them someday.
Love to have you here, Sarah.
Sounds great.
Look forward to the visit.
Love it. I love it. I love it. Well, clearly you're so deeply connected with the plants, with nature. And I would love to hear, how would you say that the plants and nature really support you in your life's work?
In a huge way, Sarah, in a huge way. It's my passion just to keep learning with the plants, but how they support me in my life work. So I work with people. They're just there. Like, they help me to ground. The plants, just, you can bring them into your space. You don't need to have them in the physical form. They help me with my life work to just to come in when I need them. Just their energy, their spirit, their nature just comes in. We can imbue the plant that we need the most. You know, when we want strength, we can look at the rimu tree, or when we want femininity, we can look at the kohi tree and bring that and imbue that with us. And these are ways that I like to work with the plants and the trees, and just bring it, because we talked about when we go into the ngahere and how it activates us. So if they can activate ourselves as a ngahere, we can be activated with the trees when we imbue them. So if we imbue that mauri, we become that tree for others. We become that strength for others. And it's just imbuing and getting to know what tree you want to bring on. That's how I feel that it works for me with my life purpose. There's so much more that it does, but I would say that's the main one, is to be able to imbue it.
Amazing. I love that. That's just incredible embodied experience with the plants. And so tell us, how can people find out more about you and your work?
Yes, okay, so people can find my website, which is rongoamauri.com. That's RONGOAMAURI.com. Or I've got an Instagram account, Rongoa Mauri. That's what that is. Yeah, if they want to find out more about the work that I do, and can definitely go onto the website. There's more information there.
Wonderful. Well, Joanne, thank you so much for your incredible work with the plants, with the earth. And it just feels ancient. It feels like you are connected to something so primordial that is so beautiful and so welcome at this time. So thank you for that. And thank you so much for joining us on the podcast today. Just such an honor to have you here.
Thank you, Sarah. It's an honor to be here. And I just want to give thanks to you and your amazing course that I did with the course that you have, because that actually really inspired me and motivated me to work with flower essences, Sarah. And I just appreciated that. And I encourage others to do your course. Amazing. Amazing. Just the healing that I was receiving, just speaking with you. You were the tree, you were holding that space, and I loved every minute of it. And I thank you very much for holding that space.
Oh, thank you so much. That means so much. And I definitely feel seen being a tree for sure. So thank you for that. So wonderful. Thanks, Joanne.
You're welcome. Thank you.
And thanks so much for listening and joining us today on the Plant Spirit Podcast. I hope you enjoyed it, and please follow to subscribe, leave a review, and look forward to seeing you on the next episode.